In 1999, the US investment and business communities were questioning Warren Buffett, saying that his approach was outdated and that he had misjudged the stock market. But just 1 year later, the burst of the dot-com bubble shut everyone up. Was Warren Buffett wrong? At the time, most people couldn't understand why he wasn't buying tech stocks, which were soaring back then. For example, Yahoo, which had just gone public in 1996, saw its market cap skyrocket from $330 million at its IPO to over $100 billion in just over 3 years. Tech stocks were practically money-printing machines. However, during the same period, the stock price of Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway fell from $80,900 per share in June 1998 to $56,100 per share in December 1999. This led the market to question Buffett, because he had missed the seemingly obvious tech stock surge. Barron's even published an article titled "What's Wrong, Warren?", which directly suggested that Buffett, turning 70 in 2000, might have become too conservative. Some even publicly called Berkshire Hathaway a mediocre company. At the same time, many long-term investors who had once followed Buffett's philosophy abandoned value investing and bought IT stocks instead. Surrounded by doubt and criticism, Buffett remained completely unshaken. In July 1999, he delivered a speech at Sun Valley that most people initially ignored, but would later earn universal respect. In July 1999, a secretive and top-tier conference was taking place in Sun Valley, Idaho. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Jerry Yang, Michael Dell, and other prominent figures all attended the gathering. And that's not all. Government officials, media moguls, and Hollywood producers and stars were also present. This annual gathering, known as the Sun Valley Conference, brings together the wealthiest, most powerful, and most influential people from various sectors in the US. They discuss highly confidential information at the meeting, and everyone remains tight-lipped afterwards, rarely revealing their discussions to the outside world. Therefore, the conference feels both mysterious and elite. Part of its allure comes from the setting itself. Sun Valley is a breathtaking resort town. Olympic skiers and figure skaters train here, and even Hemingway found inspiration in its quiet charm. With crisp air, picturesque landscapes, and a tiny population, it feels like a paradise on Earth. In such surroundings, the wealthy can let their guard down and speak more openly than usual. Buffett was the closing speaker at the 1999 conference. The closing speech is a significant event. And this one was even more special because Buffett, who always insisted on not predicting the stock market, was going to share his views on it. And he was doing so while IT stocks were soaring and Berkshire Hathaway stock was falling sharply, making it even more attention-grabbing. So, what would he say in front of Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Jerry Yang, and a host of internet executives? Here we skip the preamble and go straight to the core points. First, he believed the flood of money into the stock market was due to the low interest rates at the time. Keeping money in the bank yielded little return and fewer people wanted to hold cash. So stocks rose so dramatically. He also attributed this to human greed. He was so frank that the IT people in the audience immediately became displeased. Their company's stocks were the ones skyrocketing. They believed their industry represented a new paradigm, the dawn of the internet age, a masterpiece changing the future. How could it just be about interest rates? Besides, who was Buffett to call others greedy? He made so much money in the stock market himself, wasn't he the greedy one? But Buffett, unconcerned with the audience's reaction, made another point: while innovation can push the world forward, it doesn't always translate into good returns for investors. He gave the example of the U.S. automobile industry. In the early 20th century, more than 2,000 car manufacturers were founded. At the time, the car represented the most cutting-edge technology and limitless business opportunities, much like artificial intelligence today. The advent of the car completely changed the U.S. It fueled booms in the oil, rubber, steel, and glass industries, and the US began the large-scale construction of a national highway network for cars. Everyone believed the car was the future. If you were in that era, watching car sales surge and witnessing a revolution in transportation, wouldn't you also think, I must invest in the automobile? However, of those over 2,000 manufacturers, only 3 survived. Imagine the impact of the number. 2,000 dropped to 3. 99.85% of the companies disappeared. Moreover, even the selling prices of the surviving 3 were below their book values, meaning investors didn't make money at all. Buffett used this example to tell the internet industry executives in the audience that they were merely repeating history. Most of them would ultimately fail. But how could these arrogant people possibly listen? In their minds, even if only very few companies could survive, theirs would be the ones. This is human nature, people always overestimate themselves. So, to sober them up a bit, Buffett gave a second example, the airline industry. The logic and outcome were similar to those of the automobile industry, even though the airline industry seemed incredibly promising when it emerged and later indeed changed the world. Investors in airlines rarely made any money. Unfortunately, the audience grew tired of these examples. In their view, these examples were outdated, the internet couldn't be measured by old standards. Faced with the lull in the room, Buffett told a joke. An oil prospector died and went to heaven. St. Peter said to him, "Well, I checked you out, and you meet all of the qualifications. But there's one problem. We have some tough zoning laws up here, and we keep all of the oil prospectors over in that pen. And as you can see, it is absolutely chock-full. There is no room for you." The oil prospector thought for a moment, and then cupped his hands and yelled out, "Oil discovered in hell." All of the oil prospectors in heaven rushed out and headed right straight down to hell. St. Peter said, "That's very clever. You can move in now, this area is all yours." The oil prospector paused for a moment and said, "No, I think I'll go with them. You know, there might be oil in hell." That's how people perceive and feel about stocks. The audience laughed, but not for long, as they realized the joke was mocking them. Their rabid pursuit of internet stocks was no different from the mindless rush to hell for oil. Buffett also showed the audience a cartoon, in which a man said to a woman, "There are certain things that cannot be adequately explained to a virgin either by words or pictures." The irony was piercing. No one laughed. A deafening silence followed. The audience could only sit there, stiff and unmoved. Speaking of this, the old man could be so sarcastic in front of the world's wealthiest, most powerful, and most influential people, completely without social pressure. His candor and adherence to convictions win my respect. At the end of the speech, he closed with another golden quote, "You can get in way more trouble with a good idea than a bad idea. Because you forget that the good idea has limits." Many in the audience were actually resentful at the time. While polite enough to call the speech brilliant, they were privately unconvinced. They didn't take Buffett's views seriously, even suspecting he was merely making excuses for missing the internet boom. So, except for Bill Gates, no one heeded Buffett's advice, let alone acted on it. However, subsequent events would make them regret. Let's see what happened next. This speech was delivered in July 1999. After that, internet stocks continued to soar. It wasn't until March 10, 2000, that the Nasdaq index began its precipitous collapse from a high of 5,048. It plummeted all the way to 1,140 by October 4, 2002, a fall of 80%. Many internet companies went bankrupt. Even established giants like Cisco, Intel, and Oracle saw their stock prices drop by over 80%. This crash eventually led to a prolonged financial recovery period. The Nasdaq index didn't recover its previous high until April 24, 2015, taking 15 years. Yahoo's market cap fell from its peak of $125 billion in 2000 to around $10 billion in 2001. When it sold its core internet business in 2017, it fetched only $4.5 billion. Amazon's cap dropped from around $35 billion in early 2000 to about $2 billion in 2001, losing about 93% of its market value. But it survived. Today, its market cap has reached around $2.4 trillion, but that's a story for another series. This entire event is known as the dot-com bubble. Although the bubble seems obvious in retrospect, at that time, only very few people saw the future clearly, and Buffett was one of them. Buffett's Sun Valley speech stands as one of the most prophetic moments in financial history. standing before the very figures who were stirring up the internet frenzy. The capital giants and tech executives who most needed to hear his warning yet were least willing to listen. Buffett demonstrated extraordinary frankness and steadfastness. While everyone else hailed the internet is different, he used timeless economic truths to deliver a sobering message: world-changing innovation and profitable investment are never the same. His prophecy went beyond predicting a market crash. It revealed the inevitable failures of human fanaticism, not only in the financial sector but across all areas of life. Alright, that's all for today's story. Thank you for watching.